services today and for sharing your expertise. We will now have an opening round of questions from senators. Please, again, if you can, keep your remarks or your questioning to 5 minutes. Mr. Chester, let me start with you. As you know, fentanyl has been devastating for all of our communities, including in my home state of Washington. Over 2,000 people died from a drug overdose in Washington state in 2021. That is an increase of nearly 70% over 2019, and half of those deaths involve fentanyl. So those numbers are really heartbreaking. In King County, we saw a record high fentanyl deaths in 2021. Spokane County reported a 186% increase in fentanyl overdose. It's devastating. And because of the transnational criminal networks that traffic fentanyl, it's only becoming more prevalent. The Drug Enforcement Administration recently reported a 264% increase in counterfeit pill seizures in Washington state alone. Law enforcement officials and first responders are working hard to intercept and seize fentanyl before it reaches our communities and respond to the increased use. But the federal government really has to do more. Mr. Chester, share with us what steps ONDCP is taking to coordinate the activities of the federal law enforcement agencies, Department of Justice, DEA, to make sure that our efforts to disrupt fentanyl trafficking is as effective as possible.
Thank you for the question, Senator. And in your question was a great deal of the answer, and that is going after the transnational criminal organizations before the drugs can even get across our borders and into our communities. And it's what we refer to as commercial disruption. What we are dealing with is a global illicit business that has all of the hallmarks of a transnational business organization. They have access to resources, they do product development, they have the ability to move money, products, raw materials across borders with incredible efficiency. They are free riders on the back of the legitimate commercial network that keeps the international economy alive. But it has critical vulnerabilities. And so what we are focused on, and this is across the interagency and across the federal government, is focusing our efforts on those critical vulnerabilities where we can get the greatest amount of effect. And one of them, obviously, as was discussed before, is illicit finance. That's their operating capital and that's their profits. Another one is the precursor chemicals that are used in order to manufacture these drugs. And in many cases now, the technology is to the point where precursor chemicals are no longer regulated, and some of them are so legitimate that they can't be regulated. The third one is going after the commercial shipping that moves these things around the country. And then the fourth thing is the pill presses and the dye molds that are used to make them. And so what we're doing in the Office of National Drug Control Policy is not only working across the federal government, but working bilaterally with key countries like China, like Mexico, and like India in order to be able to disrupt the production of these drugs at their source and to prevent them from getting to our borders and into our communities in the first place. And that is truly an interagency effort, and it is where the bulk of our efforts lie right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me turn to Dr. Delphin-Rittman. For a lot of parents, it's really hard to help their kids navigate teenage years anyway, especially when it comes to drug and alcohols. And fentanyl crisis has made keeping our kids safer a lot harder. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma. I understand exactly how scary this is for parents today. Counterfeit pills with fentanyl are extremely dangerous and extremely easy for teens to find, often accidentally on social media platforms. The stories from parents and family members and loved ones are heartbreaking. Kids buy what they think are prescription opioids online only to get lethal fentanyl-laced pills instead. And in fact, the problem is so widespread that the Drug Enforcement Administration issued its first public safety alert in 6 years, warning about the dangers of those pills. We've got to protect our communities, especially our kids, from fentanyl. It is vital that we invest in substance use disorder prevention, treatment, and recovery for youth. Talk to us about how this committee can support the efforts, especially in our upcoming reauthorization package.
So, thank you, Chair Murray, for that question. And you're right. I mean, this is such a challenging area. And, I also want to thank you for your bipartisan work to reauthorize our programs. So we do have a specific program, the Strategic Prevention Framework for Prescription Drugs, that is geared towards helping to increase awareness of the dangers of sharing substances, of substance use. It's geared towards raising awareness among youth and families and communities. So this program also does include information and training and technical assistance related to the dangers of buying substances, period, but also through the web, and particularly focuses on youth. So some of the goal is to raise awareness and to change youth behaviors through that awareness raising.
Well, thank you. I am out of time. Dr. Jones, I wanted to ask you what efforts CDC is doing and how we can support that. If you can give that to me in writing, or if I can get a background to a second round of questions, I will ask you that question. Senator Cassidy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chester, I don't know, we're getting feedback. Do you mind turning that off?